yellow table are minor county roads that the county already owns, that we currently do not maintain unless it's an emergency. That, and it has the number of dwellings on there, miles per dwelling, because that's an objective criteria for prioritization as well. Let's put resources on the road that serves the most residences first. And that's an objective criteria that would hold up to any kind of challenge. So you'll see on their opinion, Michigan, North Creek, Material Creek, East Creek, and then 62nd East doesn't have any homes on it, and so it's prioritized last, but it's on the list because we own the road.
62nd East was the one that there was an agenda item for the road department to make those improvements, and it was a timed item, and remember, we ended up waiting an extra hour, and the individual actually didn't even come. But that's the business on the McGill Highway that was brought to you guys before, and then nothing happened on it, so.
So it was my suggestion that we address, and it's Bill's suggestion, and I agree with it, is that we address the roads we have on the books before we start adopting new roads. Okay, that's why you'll see the correspondence for the first item that's open right now in your agenda item, there's an email to Bill where I'm directing him to go ahead and use road funds to begin road maintenance on those roads outlined in the yellow table, the ones we already have. That we can use funds out of the road fund, and I want it to be at his discretion because logistically, he knows how to best to deploy his equipment and his operators. For example, while there may be a priority to do Pinion in Michigan, that's not a good example. North Creek and Mateer Creek, it would make more sense if he sends equipment out to do North Creek and East Creek, because they're adjacent to each other, for example. He's already got the equipment deployed, material out there, do the roads under his discretion, as long as it's on the map and we start addressing it on this table. That's the best way to utilize county resources out of road fund. So, the first item is, I wanted to, let's see how it's worded. We're just having a discussion and update right now. Wanted to update the commission on the work that Bill's going to be doing pursuant to my direction. The second part of this item talks about my authority to do so. Because we're gonna be treading in new waters as you have a county manager for the first time in the books. Bill is one of the departments that I manage, and his budget's been approved by the commission, and it's a budget that I can work with. So I believe that I have and the reason why we're discussing it is for clarity for Bill, for me, for the commission, so we know how this is all gonna work. I believe that you have granted me the authority to direct him on how to address some of these roads and how to deploy his equipment, and that the recourse is when we do these updates. Like if Lori disagrees with something that we're doing, she can then address it with us here at our update and say, I think we really need to back off on these roads, let's pay attention to these ones over here. That's how it's addressed in a commission meeting. But other than that, you allow me to manage, and you allow Bill to do his work. So that's why I wanted to have that update right now, and if that's not the direction of the board, if you want to take back some of those authorities, this is how we're gonna be doing it going forward. I will take and I'll manage, and then you guys will say, no, we don't want you to do that. We still want to retain that authority. And then we have to draft some policy so it's outlined for the next county manager and take this position. Anyway. So this is two parts. One is it's an update on what we're doing with the road funds. Two, it's how Bill was directed to do this and where the funds are coming from on an objective criteria. Item 5 is adopting this objective criteria for the public so they understand how things are going. It's actually an update too, how things are going to go. So I'm moving now to item 5 specifically. I want to talk about the green table. Bill, anything you want to add so far before I jump on the green table?
No, I have the backup material. So when you look at the green table, they're color coded. And I didn't put them as it's a lot of sheets of paper, but actually we have maps that correlate, that Martin did, that show where these roads are located. That's why they're color coded that way. So if you want to see exactly where we're talking about, I can show you a map right now.
So the color code is grouping them together in a geographic
Location, yeah.
For deployment. Okay. So the green road are roads that may be public right-of-ways, but have not yet been accepted by the county. The county doesn't have these roads on its map, right? But these are low-hanging fruit that Richard has identified as some priority roads that he'd like to address as well. And we discussed over the last couple of years, even when Steve Stork was on the board, some of these roads, okay? The issue is, we can't just go and say, let's adopt that road. For example, let's talk about Cliff Rose Lane. We can't just say, Bill, go out to Cliff Rose and throw down 60 feet of gravel in that easement and bring it up to grade or whatever, and come in so we can adopt it. Because we don't know what the legal easements, right-of-ways, the bounds of that road are with those adjoining properties yet. So the very first step is actually giving a list to, for example, Basin Engineering or an engineer, and say, we need some surveying done. And come back, you know, do 5 roads, do some surveying out there, and come back and tell us what the county has for a right-of-way, what the county may need to overcome, maybe an easement or a property line before we go out and start working on these roads. So this list, it says possible adoption. No work is gonna happen on these roads, no physical work. These roads are for discussion, like today, and then possible future action, but what this list is, are the lists that we're gonna give over to Basin and say, we need to do some engineering, find out what we have here. So then we can bring that information back to the commission, you can look at it and say, well, we own these ones, we have a full right-of-way, or there's plenty of room here to do what we need for upgrading. Bill, give us an estimate on how much you think it might cost to do this, and then you can direct that we wanna start working towards bringing some of these roads up. It's a longer process for the green table, okay? But it's still a process we can look at and bring back some information on those roads.
Yeah, I brought this up a couple of years now. I'm always on it, so I'm kind of bitching about it, I guess. But in order for this county to grow, in order for us to move forward, the city is pretty much landlocked. The county has some property that can be developed, and these roads where we're putting houses, we need additional road maintenance so we can get development in these properties. Right now, the properties are sitting there, there's nothing on the tax roll, pretty much peanuts. If we can adopt some roads, get some roads upgraded, get some houses built on them, we can add to the property tax base. But we haven't when's the last time we've added new roads, Bill? It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think just the one we did on the Sprouse property, and I think after that, it's been, I don't know if the word's ever, have we ever, minus that one road that came before.
2003,
Ever's a long time, and it's time
something
for
like
us to
that. It was,
move forward.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
I should say, one of the calculations in this is we're still really careful of adding a lot of extra work, but we're not increasing our revenues like these minor county ones. It's not gonna increase our revenues to go until they're adopted and put on the map, and then it's debatable whether we'll.
Yeah, I have
actually
reached out to the state, I don't know how many emails, and just given a hypothetical, if we were to add 30 additional miles to our inventory, what would that change the funds we receive? And it's
I asked the same question when.
just a pass about, nobody has an answer. So I think.
Bill Merrill was here.
yeah,
Yeah, it's.
Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. That thought brings me to something that we really need to consider, is I know that the fund balance is in really good shape, but what are we going to do about revenue coming in? I see that we will probably do this little by little based on the number of people we have to go ahead and take care of the roads. But down the road, what type of revenue stream, I think that will be needed in order to continue to make that whole.
Yeah, that's always the tension, adopting these extra miles, then they have to maintain those extra miles. But the
So-
revenue doesn't grow, so it
That's,
may have to be supported by a general fund monies down the road, if that's what we wanna do, or have some kind of revolve. There's a lot of ways to address it
but I think.
carefully,
Yeah,
conservatively.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that while we move through this process, that we parallel making sure that we get to that point, that,
We do know through historical data that it costs about $27,000 per mile to cap and redo a road. The Pogue Road is coming to you guys on a monthly update of how that's progressing. So we just went back and looked at those prices, and that's about $27,000 a mile. Does that, if we adopt additional roads, does that change what we're spending? No, because we're spending it out there or we're spending it here, so there's no But it is a cost, and that 27,000 is super, how far away is water, how far away is gravel?
I was gonna say, is that all
Very-
inclusive or is that bare minimum? 27,000?
It could, you know, if one of these roads that we look at to adopt, and if there's a gravel source and water source close, and the culverts are in good place and in good shape, and they don't need to be replaced, it could be less. It could be double too. I mean, it's such a,
But if you look at it countywide, 27,000 is probably a pretty strong average though.
I think so. I feel pretty
Okay.
comfortable with that number, yes. But once again, it's not gonna affect our budget. I mean, eventually, if we need to adopt it, have additional personnel, but right now, we're spending money to buy culverts out at the Pogue Road, or if this is, or on these, what are we gonna, the marching orders to do the non-standard county roads.
And, you know, and we're sprinkling in, this is, maybe we
Yes,
hit these
thank you.
roads now,
Yeah.
sprinkle it in at his discretion, maybe we don't hit him again for 2 years. Maybe he hits it again next year, it all depends on his equipment availability, his manpower, because during the summer, he's already so thin with his operators that you can't, I mean, you have all seen the county roads. I mean, they fall out of disrepair quickly when it gets so dry, right? And so you have to be careful in having these on or deploying his resources out to some of these non-standard roads. But it's still, as the county government, it's probably our obligation to still look at some of these roads and address them and throw some maintenance at them occasionally, even if they don't bring us in revenue.
No, I think
Traditionally,
that's-
we've never addressed these roads, they don't bring us
Right.
revenue, but that may not be on
But-
balance.
No, I-
the
But
best
these,
practice.
these roads spur growth, and development of these roads spurs growth, and growth creates revenue. I think the tricky part that a lot of times the public doesn't understand is the way our road department's funded
Yeah.
is the real issue, because it's a flat rate tax. You know, there's the same amount of tax on a $5 gallon of gas as there is on a $2 gallon of gas, but when you're expending $5 a gallon gas to do that level of work, the miles that you can maintain actually goes way down, because that is a pretty stagnant number, that funding number.
It rarely changes over the, like, Laney provides on a monthly basis the historical value, and you look year to year, and that's why they used to have 12 operators, and now we're down to 8 and probably 9.
Yeah,
That's the
there's
reason.
nothing in that
Exactly.
tax structure to deal with inflation.
Exactly.
And then the other side of it is, once these roads are brought up, for example, if we were to cap one and bring it all the way up, there is less maintenance down the road, but there's a lot of upfront costs, and there always will be maintenance. But some of these roads deteriorate faster than others.
Yeah,
depending on how
and
they're
another
built.
thing that we need to look at too is some of these outlying areas. I know that the Uvaldes and out at 30 Mile and Hank Vogler and, oh gosh, the Cave Valley, when they get snowed in, it takes them away from what's here, you know, locally. So those people and their crews will have to wait
Yeah, I would envision
if we have.
when and if
roads.
all of these additional miles were added to it, it would add a day, because Cave Valley was snowed in twice this year. One time it took us, the second day we got there after the storm, and then the next time, because we had high winds, it was 3 days before we could go get them out. But it would definitely, I mean, anything we do is gonna, the outlying areas are gonna be who's affected. And we've already noticed that people, I guess, seeing the agenda items, we've had phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the can of worms is open, we've received phone calls from Baker and Lund, and they want the same process.
Yeah,
And I guess we cut, these roads that are on the non-standard list, they're basically where the highway splits, if you're gonna go to the Coke Ovens, the dirt road there. It's basically from that road heading north to Mateer Creek. And we've tried to incorporate everything in that area. Now, we know we've already skipped one, we forgot about the lower portion of the Blue Diamond Road that is in here, so
Yeah.
east of the highway is not on here.
You'll see that the Blue Diamond Road, there's 40 homes served, it has the highest per mile, but it's in the green because, again, those were part of his subdivision and they're not county roads, right? How the map was approved, it's private, so. Those could be added, they serve a lot of homes, but there's a huge process for that. So I just wanted to update the commission on the process. So as I work with Bill and his crew identifies more of the minor counties that has this yellow, or he thinks there may be something else in there he could be doing, I just wanted to let you know, I believe we have the authority and the flexibility to try to address some of these needs, so we're not micromanaging from this board. But I think it's also important that you have all the information, because your constituents will be calling you and saying, what about my house? So we wanted an objective criteria, so you have an answer.
I do have your cell phone numbers, I can
Yeah.
pass along.
You want an objective criteria, so you have an answer when they call. It's like, we're first addressing those roads that have the highest homes per mile.
That would be so helpful. That's been a value of mine in just about anything I've ever done, is I hate not having something in writing, because otherwise it feels arbitrary.
Absolutely.
And it's just too weird. I love having, like, this is the rules, this is what we know, everybody agrees, we can all point to it, and nobody can say they're being left out or singled out. And it would be nice to have an answer other than, hey, you know, I don't know the situation, I know Bill and his guys are busting their ass out there. Man, thanks for being patient, I know they're gonna get to you, you know,
I think it's a solid starting point, I mean,
Yeah, agree.
I've got a question for you, Mike. I had an idea about the Blue Diamond roads. I've been, I've had a lot of people talk to us about those, and those are all 100% private owned. If the property owners out there were to come together and work out a deal on that roadway and form a GID to improve those roads, could that GID contract with the county to perform that service?
Yes.
I need to probably disclose then, I think I'm on the very lowest in my road.
correct.
Yeah, you're on this list somewhere, and so is Miss Francis. I mean, it's not,
I mean, it's not
Two
gonna
nights
change
ago.
out, I'm not gonna benefit,
Everyone else
Pardon me?
lives on.
295?
295 South Street.
yeah,
Yes.
it's on the green.
Yeah, you're towards the bottom of the
Yeah,
priority
I'm at
list.
the bottom end.
You're welcome.
So that might be a way
Okay.
that the property owners could expedite the process,
Yeah.
alleviate us some of the legwork, but we could still work together to put, that may help us get some more of these done on a little quicker basis, if we can get some proactivity out of the property owners.
So legally under, I'm treading thin here. NRS 318 allows the formation of GIDs with the help of the county commission, right, in the county. The GID, if it has assessments that are approved, those can be placed on the tax rolls, and we as the county and the treasurer can assess GID assessments. That's how you address it. So it would be specific to Blue Diamond, it would be, if they all vote on it and it's assessed, let's say they wanna take $10 a month or something like that, to put towards a road maintenance fund, that's how that would be set up, so. You'll be hearing more about GIDs coming down the road, we start talking about landfills this year, so just as a little heads up on that.
I think it's a good idea. I've heard from people, and I've talked to people in regards, that come from different areas and don't realize that our Ely area, White Pine County, is still part of the wild, wild west. They wanna know who's gonna plow their roads.
Yep.
No idea.
And it's complicated, I was at Plummer this weekend, on a weekend, and I was.
Doesn't matter, you're part of us now.
No, yeah, so I had a conversation with a constituent, and I said, what about my road? And I had to go through the whole, well, we don't even know whether we own it or not. It could be
Yeah.
part of a private property issue, it could be part of a subdivision like we've done. Then I started getting into the funds, minor and standard roads, and you can just tell what's going. So is my road gonna get plowed? So,
2 hours after the store closed.
yeah, exactly, it's complicated, and, so anyway, this is a list that you can use when you talk to handle those phone calls. It's an objective criteria that we're trying to adopt, and I believe as your manager, I can direct Bill to start working on this stuff, okay? We're trying to streamline government here.
Nicole, why don't you get a printout of this for every commissioner so that we have it? So as we work forward, here's the bottom line, one of the reasons I started this. Yeah, it's in our backup, but if we had a hand, if we had an actual piece of paper to carry around with us.
Like the good old days.
Yes, but
I-
public safety is a big part of this, probably the biggest part, because we've got roads real close to town that aren't on standard roads. That if there's a big snowstorm or whatever, and you need an ambulance or something to get to somebody's house, and we don't take on that road and plow it, we're gonna get the crap suit out of us, number one. but these people are residents, they pay property taxes, they pay everything. Public safety, getting a policeman, an EMT, a fire truck, into some of these properties that are already listed, whatever category you put them in, is vital. That's one of the main reasons I brought this up, is we have so many roads that are close proximity to Ely that, and we've had bad snowstorms, and you discussed the drifting of the snow right out here off of Madison Avenue, down that little gully. The snow drifts over, you got 10 feet drift. But we need to protect our citizens by allowing them services to their properties. We need to grow, so I'm trying to make this as short as possible and be as out front as I can. This is one of the reasons we need to take on some of these roads. We need to grow. We got a pump storage facility, we got a bunch of houses, we got a prison, we got no housing for anybody. If we don't have roads or access, are you gonna put a house out in the middle of nowhere where you gotta drive 10 miles on the dirt road to get to your house? No. But we've got some of these listed that are close, that can be done, and it's our job while we have the services available. Not everybody's gonna be first, but I think in discussing this, if we can look at this thing here and somehow, not today, in the next meeting or whatever, prioritize a road to say, oh, Martin, your road's gonna get done in 2023, or whatever. Give them a 3 to 5 year time frame, so they're not calling up, when, am I on the list? Well, we're not even gonna look at your house until we get some of these done. Let's do this at another meeting, prioritize them, but let's get these roads adopted as quick as we can and look at them so we can give the public general knowledge, so Mike, if he's in Bethlehem, can say, oh, you're on the list for 2022. But
I
not everybody's.
100% agree with that. I think we have to be careful though,
Yeah.
stating that we're gonna
Right.
get your road done on this date, because if you can't tell me how much it's gonna snow next year, I can't tell you when we're gonna get to it, because the winter's when we'll be doing this.
And let's
So,
get the
I agree
roads,
with you.
let's get the roads listed.
They
The
are.
ones that are gonna be on here, they'll have our hands on it, and we don't have to answer questions. We're going to get to this road, but some that aren't on this list, you're not on the priority, this is the way it's done. So I'm trying to make this out there and try to get this meeting moving along.
Yeah,
So that
that's
we
all
can-
I had. I'm gonna let you know this list will continue to change, we'll continue to provide it to the commission, these updates.
You'll get that on the monthly
And
update.
don't
yes.
forget, some people move here because it's a lifestyle choice and don't not necessarily want their roads paved.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I just needed to say that, okay?
Okay.
But I think it's a
Thanks,
good
Mike.
idea.
Is there anything on the opening one and line item 5? Anybody got anything? They're both updates. If not, we're gonna move on to item 2 on page 3. Is that okay with you guys?
Yep.
Okay, we're trying to move this along. We're gonna move to page 3, item 2, discussion
You
for
don't
possible.
wanna go, come
Well-
back to that and then go to
Well, I'm
the,
already on it, already. We
no,
already
no,
did.
we have a 9:30 update.
But we're in the middle of this right here, so we'll get to these.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're in a
Okay.
timed
Yeah,
item
we
right
are,
now.
we are.
Okay. Okay, we're in a time.
Yes, we
We're
are.
gonna move on. Page 3, item 2. Discussion for possible action, the approval of the request for White Pine County to sign and submit a letter of support for a public safety exemption for White Pine and Elko County roads 1000 and 719 for public health and safety purposes with KG Mining, Bald Mountain Incorporated, Bill Calderwood, Public Works Director, Dale Thompson, and Stephanie Hallinan of Kinross. Are Kinross here?
They do, they are.
Okay, so let's, Bill, you can start it and you guys can go into it.
Just in the backup material, I'm sorry.
One quick question. I had a call yesterday and I think the citizens on it owns a property out by there. His name is Chad, is it Chad Bliss?
Yes.
Chad Bliss, and he wanted to be, I think he's on the phone, but just so you know that there's a property owner that has a question with this. He doesn't want problems. So, okay, go
You guys
ahead.
wanna come up? Yeah, and the letter is in the backup material, and it's just supporting, the project. And this is kind of came before the commission before, when they've done changes to the road, they've taken out some turns, which you guys have approved before, and this is just an ongoing, it's part of the mine plan. So I supported this, this is definitely a safety issue, and
Absolutely.
then the sage grouse is kind of for them, but if you guys have any questions, they're all of them.
No, it's been a great partnership between us and the team for sure. We've been working on these roads for a long time. This section of road we want to look at has been on the radar for about 27 years. It involves 5 different entities in 2 counties. And we've had a few accidents there. We're wanting to fix it, and we're wanting to get this through the system this year so that we can do repairs next year. So we're just looking for the support from various communities so that we can proceed.
Can I ask Mr. Chad, are you on the phone?
Doesn't look like it.
He had a question, he asked me if I do this, if I can't get hold of him, I'll have to call him.
I can certainly call him as well.
You got his phone number? I've got it.
Absolutely.
Okay, Chad was gonna try to be on, he's not on, so I support anything we can do to make the road safer, and I think this commission does. So the item here that we have is to submit a letter of support for public safety on those roads as a commission, is that right? Mike or James? Okay, so is there anybody here with a comment on this, about writing this letter of support for Ken Ross? Anyone?
The letter is attached?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just asking the commission if they wanna make a comment, that's all. So, hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Maureen. Second by Travis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Pass unanimous. Thank you, and we want Bald Mountain to succeed and have a bright, long future. Thank you all very much.
You as well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, man, thanks, appreciate you guys.
Okay, we're still under the road commission meeting, and we're on item 3. It's also on page 3, discussion for possible action, the approval of a road assistance agreement between White Pine County and the White Pine Water Power LLC for 0.62 miles of White Pine 810 and 0.53 miles of White Pine 811. Bill Calderwood.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make a disclosure for the fake news. I or my parents, I own no property in the county. My parents' property has no deals with White Pine Water Power LLC, R+, etc. And I'm disclosing this for this item as well as the 930 item under C1. Thank you.
That's a question about that. Do you know whether these roads here adjoin any of your parents' property?
Their property just sits on Highway 93,
So,
so.
no, okay. Thanks.
Okay, we have some representatives
Yeah.
here today.
You guys want to come up, but I think that's okay, isn't it?
That's how I handle hard questions, I just make sure they show up.
So
This agreement is pretty much what we did, last year. It just, we got a window of a couple months, I think last year you saw the drilling up on the McGill Highway up on the hill. This is the same agreement basically with different dates. Other than that, I don't think there's really any changes to it. They were using, the roads that are affected on this is North Industrial, and then you go up, oh, they do, is it South? Sorry. South Industrial, and they go up South Industrial, hit the dirt road, part of that is a county road, and then they venture off and it's no longer.
And that goes over that cattle. Okay.
So the described section in the appendix is for the paved portion of South Industrial up to where it turns into gravel, and then the gravel up to where it crosses the rail. So all of that's county road. And so that's where the road maintenance agreement is for when we do the actual geotechnical work on the mountain. So it's almost exactly the same as what we did last year.
Okay, because you guys are out of time down here in a minute, so let's go through this and see if we can get this passed, and then you'll be up next at 9:30, your deal, and you can speak at that time. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm just trying to keep the meeting flowing. So we're on item 3, and it's an approval of a road assistance agreement that Bill has approved, that he's in favor of, for the Water Power LLC for the mileage 0.62 and 0.53 miles of road 810 and 811. Is there any question by anybody on this? Bill has given his recommendation for this. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Lori. Second. Second by Shane. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Pass unanimous. Item 4, under the road department is discussion for possible action, the ratification of a letter of support for the Duckwater Shoshone Tribe to seek federal assistance and funding to improve 24 miles of an unpaved road, the Pogue Road, due to safety concerns. Bill?
This is a ratification. They needed the letter before this date occurred, so Richard has already sent it off. And this is just, we're, on our updates, we've been working on the Pogue Road, because I guess I didn't really realize, I have to apologize on that it was a school bus route and how much was actually used. So we've been going forward and making these repairs, but if this federal funding can occur, it would be amazing for the tribe. And the 24 miles